Welcome aboard. Great to have your company. It's 27 minutes away from 2 o'clock. If you want to have a chat, whatever's on your mind, 8223 0000. But first, let's have a bit of a look at the road toll. And this year, it just seems to be out of control so far, doesn't it? It stands at 69 compared to 53 for the same time last year. That follows the death of a 22-year-old man at Angle Vale on Saturday night. Now, while it's a major concern, the police are doing all they can to stop the carnage. The work behind the scenes continues, and I'm happy to say that it is having some success in some areas. For example, 8 years ago, about 20 young people were dying on our roads each year, and about 900 16 to 19-year-olds were actually seriously injured. Now the deaths are down to 5 and the injuries are down to 600. So, 8 years ago, 20 young people dead. Now it's down to 5 per year. So it seems the message is getting through, particularly to our younger drivers. So why the turnaround? Well, it has to do a lot to do with the Road Awareness Program, or RAP as it's called, which is run by the MFS. Joining me now to discuss its success is MFS Station Manager and RAP Coordinator Rod Campbell. Hello, Rob.
Alan, how you going?
Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. We've also got one of the guest speakers at these seminars that are held around the place, and a crash survivor himself, Kym Inglis. G'day, Kym.
G'day, Alan. How are you?
Thanks for coming in, and also the manager of MAC, the Motor Accident Commission, Matthew Hanton. How are you, Matthew?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Alan.
Good to see you all. Thanks for coming in, gents. It's good to have some good news to talk about as far as the success of some of these programs. Rod, do you want to just explain to us what the RAP is, just in simple terms?
Yeah, it's an MFS initiative where we speak mainly to year 11s or 16 to 19-year-old young people in secondary schools around South Australia. And as you alluded to with the statistics, back in 2011 we used to get to about 40% of the Year 11 population. We got a second presenter thanks to the state government and some great sponsorships as well to enable us to get to about 85% of the Year 11 population, if you like. And yeah, we've just seen a dramatic reduction in deaths. And it's not all about deaths, as Matt will go into. It's about reducing crashes so that families aren't suffering the way that they have in the past. But it's not just us, Alan. It's anyone who's working in that road safety education space. What we say to the young children, in particular the 16 to 19-year-olds that we present to, we'll talk to them about the reduction in the road toll and how it's quite significant from that 20 that you suggested down to about 5 on average per year over the last 7 years. But we think it's because of the students. It's not because of our program. It's because we've got the best 16 to 19-year-old young people that want to own road safety, and we congratulate everyone who's working in that road safety space on the job that they're doing, including the Motor Accident Commission and RAA and people like that are supporting the programs, and it gives us a chance. But if our young people don't want to own it, and that's our opportunity as firefighters to give a program, it goes for about 100 minutes. The key of it is a crash survivor. We have Kym in here today, and he may share his story a little bit later. But they bring the reality back to the young people. They're 10 foot tall and bulletproof. They get their licence, and it's their opportunity to get the freedom that they want. What we want them to do is really understand, because they don't at that young age, understand what's ahead of them. So we just tell them the truth of what we see on the roads as the service that attends crashes and responsible for rescue at those crashes as firefighters, and we spell it out pretty clearly. There's no holds barred, if you like, and they really get the message, and we find that they're grateful for it. But what we want to do is actually empower them. We don't tell them what to do. We want to empower them to want to be the best they can be on the roads.
Look, I can speak from experience. I've got 2 teenage kids. They've both been through the program, and they've both walked out with all of their mates with their mouth wide open and their eyes wide open too, saying, "Holy moly, what have we just witnessed?" So it does have a cut through, which is a great compliment to you. Is it a case of do you have to draw a line and say, no, we can't go beyond that, or are you there to actually, shake them by the shoulders and shock them into life?
We're not there to shock them at all. We're there to just show them the reality, and I think the way that we deliver the message is simply that. So we're not there to show shocking videos. We're there to show them the reality of what's happening on a daily basis. Where we differ from other presentations too is that we talk a lot about passengers and pedestrians, so not just drivers. and there's a level of responsibility, and we talk about looking after our mates and in a selfless manner. So we want to talk to them about, do you want to make selfish choices where you get to choose the risk but you don't get to choose the consequence? Or you can make a selfless choice where you actually genuinely want to look after your mates. And we'll pose the question at the start of the program pretty close to, do you reckon as Aussies we look after our mates? And they all say, yeah. I say, well, really? Well, here's the stats on it. We're losing people at the rate of 4 a day. 4 of our mates die a day, 4,800 crashes, 540 serious injuries. We're not, we talk the talk, but it's actions that we want. So we want to try and get them into action. And certainly in situations where they need to talk up. I just brought a quote with me from a student at the end of a presentation just recently. It was a 15-year-old Ranella East student. And he said, what people see as a weakness, you show us, makes us stronger than ever. Good luck and don't stop saving lives. So we want to empower young people to understand it's okay, it's the right thing to do to speak up if someone's speeding, if they're driving under the influence, if they're using their phone, any of these risks that we take and the consequences we can't control. Or as a pedestrian, if someone's crossing the road with their headphones in, certainly grab hold of them and say, hey mate, take your headphones out so you can concentrate when you cross the road. Like our pedestrian road toll this year is up again. It's more than double what it was for the same time last year. And those areas we want to get hold of. We want the young people to take responsibility and they can reinforce these new behaviours. So we're looking for an attitudinal change. We get the privilege of 100 minutes with students once in their school life. But the things that we're recommending, if they can make those changes and they commit to it in writing, if they can make those changes, within 21 days they become their habits. And we think that's how the young people are really bringing down the road toll, certainly in their age group in SA.
And it's really interesting that it is so successful, isn't it? Because this age group, let's face it, you cast your mind back when you were that old. You're infallible, but you're also pretty inexperienced when it comes to road conditions and driving and so forth, particularly at speed. But that didn't slow us down, did it? Back in our day,
no.
But you're having a cut through more so than probably if cast your mind back to when we were that age.
I think the other aspect too is we as presenters, and we've got 7 presenters, and Brad Ryan's another co-coordinator. We share a lot of the work, but we let them know that we think the reason that young people are risk takers on the road is because of us, because of our generation. We didn't have any significant road safety education back in our day, and we probably aren't the best role models. And when we present to parents, we certainly make that clear as well, that we haven't been the best role models in the past, and we need to if we care about our kids. And once you have kids, clearly the penny drops that you need to start behaving yourself. But I think our young people, and we're starting to see slowly a decline in deaths on our road in adults, and we're hoping that the message is being filtered through their kids who are seeing these presentations and are really starting to speak up. Again, actions, and having the strength to speak up and say something when mum and dad are doing the wrong thing as well.
And we should point out too, we're having a horrific road toll so far this year, but the overall trend is heading in the right direction, which is, we're to be congratulated for.
Yeah, well, the reality is last year we had the lowest road toll in SA that we've ever had, quite significantly, and in the first 5 months of this year we were tracking to be even lower, and the last 3 months has been really horrific, and I'm sure Matt will touch on that and the reasons behind that when he has a chat. But we need to remember that the young people are doing a great job, and certainly the adult age group needs to improve and set a much better example for our young people.
And just on a personal level, Rod, you're an MFS officer, you're a station officer, you're obviously really committed to this area. What's the worst thing you've seen?
Oh, well, there's numerous, Alan, that I think about, but generally the ones where, you see fatalities. I remember one incident I went to where a mother was fighting for her life, and I was actually cradling her baby that I had to take out of the baby seat in the back of the car, not that far from here actually, and I'm cradling the baby while mum fights for her life. I mean, anything that involves kids stays with you. The first fatality I ever went to was I was a 25-year-old firey, first crash I went to, and it was a young girl the same age as my sister, and when I went to cut her out, I could still smell her perfume. I could see the rings on her fingers exactly as my sister would be wearing at the same time, and it just cuts to the core, and it's really difficult for us. There is a lot of post-traumatic stress that affects a lot of emergency service workers all over Australia, all over the world, I'm sure, and it's difficult to deal with. We like to think we're tough, but we're not. We're just human, but we'd like to think also that we're selfless, and we want to give of ourselves to make a difference in the community, and that's how we want to behave. And so we do our best. We become certainly task-oriented at the incident, but after that it can come back to haunt you a bit, some of the things that we see.
You're human, like us all. Yeah, absolutely. But it's a big ask to expect you guys to, to attend incidents like that, time and time again. I remember as a young cub reporter, I, like you, took a young baby out of the back seat of a car, and mum was dead in the front seat. It was, and that's rocked me. That was 30 odd years ago. Yeah. I can still feel that absolute moment like it was yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah, it really does hit you. Richard's called in from Modbury. G'day, Richard.
Hi, how are you? It's a great thing what you are doing with the schools and everything like that. You know, it's well worth it, I think, in the long run, because it's something they'll learn for the rest of their life. But my question is, I see all this stuff come up about slow down, do this, do that, and everything else, and all this education program, but there's very little education program on actually telling parents what vehicle to buy their children, because a car which was, say, 10 or 15 years old compared to something which is only 3 or 4 years old, and I'm comparing something against a 15-year-old Commodore or Falcon or something compared to something like a 4-year-old Toyota Corolla or even Hyundai and stuff like that. The safety on that vehicle, not so much with the ABS brakes and the stability control and everything, but just actually in a crash, the difference is, in a Commodore, if you have an accident doing 80 kilometres an hour, you probably wouldn't walk out of it. Going back 15 years ago, if you had an accident, that same accident in a later model vehicle with its better safety design, the chances are you're going to walk out of that accident. But we never see anything in the media about, I suppose, that aspect of it. It's always the aspect of slow down, do this, do that, so like watch this, watch that and everything. But there's no education for the parents.
Matthew, Hanton from MAC, that's an interesting point, isn't it? We should be setting guidelines probably. They should have airbags. They should have, ABS, etc., etc.
There is a used car safety rating that exists, so there's websites out there that we sort of promote and encourage people to check out. So what we know is that South Australia has the second oldest vehicle fleet in the country, and it takes some time for those safety features in new vehicles to come through. But what we know now is in most vehicle classes and at most price points, there are vehicles that offer safety protection. So it's becoming familiar with that. It's about making sure that when you are purchasing, it's looking at those websites. So used car safety ratings, if that's what anyone checks into Google, you'll certainly see them pop up. And it's about getting the best car you can afford to give the protection. But beyond that, it's also about making sure that if you are the parent and you're putting your kids out on a Saturday night and you've got your 5-star car in the garage, and if they've got a 3-star car, why aren't you letting them take that? Too often we see, it's the good car, you can't take that, we need to leave that one at home just in case you smash it. Well, that's what it's there for. It's there to protect them should something go wrong. So that's what insurance looks after. So it's about making sure that you put them in the best car you can. But if you can't and they don't have one, why put one leave one in the driveway each night when you put them out in something a little bit more dangerous?
Really good advice. We're talking about the Road Awareness Program, or RAP, that your school kids have probably had an experience with.
Just following on from what Matt said there, Alan, and Richard's call, when we present in RAP to parent groups or to student groups, again, we talk about the responsibility as parents, and culturally that's where the change and the shift needs to be. As Matt said, you might have a 5-star rated car, a $50,000 car with 7 airbags, and we generally, and I did the same with my first child, we put the kids into this $2,000 heap of crap. That's exactly. Culturally what we do, isn't it? That's the norm, and that's what my parents would have done to me. But we need to break that cycle. We need to get so much better at that, and we need to be buying cars that protect our kids, particularly while they're still learning to drive. So it's another area of cultural change that we need going forward.
Certainly is. Give us a call, 8223 0000, if you've got a view, or if you've been through this RAP experience. It's a wonderful initiative, and it's certainly having a cut-through effect. More after this. Welcome back. It's 10 minutes away from 2 o'clock. Hope you're having a good one. We've got some guests in the studio at the moment talking about a wonderful initiative that if you've got teenage kids, they've probably been through this if they've been through Year 11. It's called the Road Awareness Program, or RAP. It's run by the MFS with the support of the Motor Accident Commission. We've got Rod Campbell, who's one of the coordinators, and also Matthew Hanton with the MAC, the Motor Accident Commission, but also a special man who takes part and has put his hand up to share his story. It's Kym Inglis joins us. G'day, Kym.
G'day, Alan. How are you?
Thanks for coming in, mate. Look, can I get you to explain how you became involved in this? It wasn't a pretty process you went through, and our hearts will go out to you, mate. Do you want to share the story?
Yeah, thank you. A number of years ago, I unfortunately lost my wife and 2 daughters in a motor vehicle crash, and after a couple of years, I felt that that what had happened to them, you know, for me personally, I needed something positive to come out of that whole tragic experience. So I sort of had a look at a number of different road safety initiatives and came across the RAP program and met with Rod, and just was blown away by the presentation and the impact that it had on kids in particular, and just felt that it was something that I wanted to get involved with, to share my story and you know, hopefully encourage people to be better on the roads and not have to go through what I did.
I can't even begin to relate to what you went through, mate. This was 2010, so it must be still pretty raw. It wasn't that long ago. Lost you, as you said, you lost your wife and your two daughters. How is this part of the sort of the recovery process you're going through now, as far as coming to grips with what really happened?
Yeah, I think so. It's you know, apart from obviously the strong message that it has, it's, you know, it's talking about it, but you know, I think it's you know, it's more than that. It's about, you know, turning a horrific, horrible thing into something where, you know, it can have some positive uses by telling my story.
So you're a guest presenter at the RAP sessions, so you talk to the students, you talk to the business groups and the parents and so forth. You must be actually standing there while you were speaking and seeing your story cut through.
Yeah, it does get quite emotional. I still get really emotional talking about it when I do the presentations with Rod and the other presenters, but you know, quite often there's a lot of tears and you know, people, I guess especially parents who have children themselves, you know, it's something that they can you know, I guess try and relate to in terms of you know, the consequences of some of these crashes that have on people that are left behind.
So what do you try to do with the seminar? What's the message you try to give? Is it a partnership between mum and dad and the kids, or what area do you push?
So I guess for me, it's, you know, personal message that I try and get across is just for people to stop and think. You know, we see people take risks in the car every day, and you know, people make a conscious decision to take these risks, but you know, what people don't appreciate is the consequences of those risks, and you know, whether it's serious fatalities or whether it's, you know, deaths, you know, fatalities, and you know, the people that are left behind to sort of deal with the fallout of that. You know, it's, as I said, it happened in 2010, but you know, there's not a single day that I don't think about it. And different events on that day and the period afterwards. It's just, you know, it's something that consumes so much of your headspace each and every single day. It's you know, unless you've been through something like that, you know, I don't think people really appreciate you know, what it's like.
Oh, look, as I said, it's really difficult to relate to what it must have been like, and all power to you, mate, for standing out there in front of crowds like this and trying to, you know, push the message, because you've been there, and you're obviously still there in a way. I can see it in your eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As I said, you know, I do get still quite emotional talking about it. You know, whether it's something like this or the actual presentations at the RAP programs.
But in a way, that's nothing to be ashamed of, though. I mean, because that actually shows just how important this message is, doesn't it?
Oh, look, I agree. And you know, for me, I think when I don't get emotional talking about it, it's probably the time that I'll stop doing it. But,
Matthew Hanton from the Motor Accident Commission, you're dealing with this sort of thing all the time about what's going on out there on the roads. The message that you know, people like Kym bring in, is it enough? I mean, what else can we be doing?
Yeah, we have a suite of programs that we support. So obviously, you know, SAPE will do some, RAA and the MFS. And what we recognise as an organisation is kids learn differently. and you need to treat each kid with that. So we can't just take a one-stick approach. We need to have a broad arrangement where we can actually have different conversations. And the power of this program is the presentations that Kym and the other presenters do. It's the reality. And you see the children, they're moved by it. So it's about making sure if every presentation we can do, we impact one child, then it's been worth it. But again, it's about recognising that you need to have a different approach, because if you just tackle it with one, you're going to miss too many. And it's about making sure that all kids, over the course of their schooling, so we start our programs in primary school. So we're talking to kids when they're in reception in year 1, right through to they complete at year 12. So it's about making sure that they go on a journey of this road safety, and it starts with crossing the road. Then it goes on to, how you actually interact with the road as a pedestrian on your own, then into the driving life. So it's about making sure that, every kid can get exposed to it so that they can set themselves up. And as we are seeing, there is some good attitudinal change happening in that young segment of our community at the moment.
One open question to all of you gentlemen, whoever wants to take this on. What do I do if I'm a young bloke? I'm in a car. I'm absolutely terrified because the goose behind the wheel is doing the wrong thing. What do I do?
Yeah, well, we do go through this and offer the students some tools to work with. So the two best answers that we've ever had are say that you're going to be sick, or say you're going to spew up, or say you need to take a leak, as an example, need to go to the toilet. What that does to the driver, so for whatever reason they might be showing off, they may be under the influence, whatever their reason is for driving in an unsafe manner and you're feeling uncomfortable, we want to give them the strength to speak up. So as an example, stop the car now, I'm going to spew up. If they're driving in their parents' $50,000 5-star rated 7-airbag car, or if they're in their own $2,000 Pride and Joy, chances are they don't want to be cleaning the spew up, as an example. Once you pull over to the side of the car, if they can grab the keys and make that whole situation safe. And same with take a leak, use the same, example. And we have the students nominate that to us. 9 years ago, when I started doing this program, if I asked them to nominate a way to get out of a sticky situation, we'd get no one put their hand up. Now, and Kym will attest, as will Matt, if we ask that question, that answer comes back all the time. Say you'll spew up, say you need to go to the toilet, because they're aware, they talk to each other, and we think the message is getting through.
That'd make me stop. What about you? I think it would. Good advice, though, because that is a real problem, isn't it? The peer pressure is a real issue, isn't it? Kids feel under pressure from all their mates.
They do, and it's about empowering them to make sure. So whether you are the passenger, whether you're the girlfriend of, so everyone has the right to speak up, because at the end of the day, you're going to actually have to live with the consequences of the actions of that driver. So we're empowering. We want to empower these young people to make the smart, right choice to ensure they can enjoy the rest of their lives.
Well, as I said, all congratulations to you, gentlemen. It is a wonderful initiative. How do people get involved if they haven't been through it yet?
So if the schools contact the MFS, we can certainly provide the program to them. With businesses too, if they just make an approach to the MFS or jump on the MFS's website and go to RAP, they'll find out the details of how they can contact us, and we'll get back to them.
And what about the parents? If parents, can you do a special session for parents?
We've had several different sessions that we do, including doing parents ones the night prior to doing students. As you'd understand, Alan, it's hard to get bums on seats on school nights. So we find it works a lot better with businesses. So if businesses approach us, and we're doing some major businesses, including SA Power Networks, who's coming on board as a sponsor as well, Schneider Electrics, there's quite a few businesses out there that we're doing at the moment, and they're really looking after their employees. So if they make contact, we'll endeavour to get a program out to them.
Fantastic. Well, listen, all power to you guys. Thanks for coming in, and all the best. Hope it goes well in the future. Thanks to Rod Campbell from the MFS, coordinator of RAP, but also Kym Inglis sharing his story. He's a guest presenter, and also Matthew Hanton from MAC. And get in touch with the MFS if you want to pursue this further. Stay with us. After the news, we'll see how we're going down on North Terrace with the transfer between the two hospitals.